Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we aren't just looking at your average sports tournament. We're essentially unrolling the blueprints of a cinematic, unfolding epic. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is breaking literally every mold, rewriting the record books, and setting a stage so massive it actually requires an entire continent to hold it. We're going to break down the sheer scale, the grueling elements, and the incredible human drama that's set to define the greatest spectacle in sports history. Okay, let's dive into this. 1,248. That is the staggering number of players officially confirmed to step onto the pitch this summer. We're talking about the absolute elite athletes from 48 different nations, all mobilizing and going to war for the ultimate prize in global sports. For context, this is a massive watershed moment for the global game. By expanding the tournament to 48 teams, we're seeing an unprecedented level of worldwide representation. It's unleashing 1,248 distinct dreams on a single colossal stage. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer geographic magnitude of what we're looking at. This is where the logistical nightmare really begins. We're no longer confined to just a single host nation, right? These 48 teams will fight across 104 battles over 39 grueling days, spread out across 16 host cities in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. From Vancouver down to Mexico City, from LA across to Miami, this is a massive 104-match battleground that's going to totally test the logistical and physical limits of every single team involved. But, a saga this massive doesn't run on just passion alone. It's driven by a staggering financial empire. The total estimated expenditure for this tournament is an earth-shattering $13.9 billion. Over half of this, about 54%, is driven purely by anticipated tourist spending. Fans are mobilizing from every corner of the globe, packing out hotels, restaurants, transit systems, the whole shebang. And because the United States is hosting the lion's share of the matches, operating out of 11 of those 16 host cities, the U.S. alone accounts for $11.1 billion of that massive economic footprint. This event is an absolute financial juggernaut. All right, let's set the scene. Act 1, the unprecedented stage and the elements. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the brutal physical contrast the players will have to adapt to. Every great epic needs an unforgiving setting, right? Take Miami, sitting right at sea level, where players are going to be battling suffocating heavy humidity. But then, contrast that with Mexico City's legendary Estadio Azteca. It sits up in the heavens at 2,240 meters above sea level. That's comparable to European ski resorts. At this altitude, barometric pressure drops, meaning athletes' muscles get significantly less oxygen. The sports science behind this tells us that matches in Mexico might actually appear slower just because of the immense physical toll. But here's the crazy twist. In that thinner air, the ball actually travels faster and further. It fundamentally alters the trajectory of long passes and shots from distance, so it's an absolute nightmare for goalkeepers. And altitude is just one part of this environmental gauntlet. We have to talk about the invisible enemy of the tournament: hazardous heat. Extensive climate analysis actually reveals that 26 of the 104 matches will take place in conditions where experts have advised the Global Players Union that the heat poses a very real, hazardous risk. Even cities we typically think of as cooler, like Toronto and Vancouver, aren't incredibly prone to summer heat waves. Nearly half of all World Cup games this year have at least a 50% chance of experiencing performance-impairing heat. That means mandatory cooling and hydration breaks are going to be an absolutely crucial tactical feature of this 2026 saga. Which brings us to the human drama. Act 2, Legends on Their Last Ride and the Rising Challengers. A stage this big needs a compelling cast of characters, and the generational drama at play here is nothing short of spectacular. We're looking at a 25-year chasm between the oldest and youngest warriors entering the fray. On one side, you've got Scotland's battle-hardened goalkeeper Craig Gordon at 43 years old. On the other side, stepping onto the pitch for host nation Mexico is the 17-year-old prodigy Gilberto Mora. It perfectly captures the whole essence of the World Cup: seasoned veterans taking their final bows, clashing head-on with fearless teenagers whose careers are just igniting. And this dynamic sets up some unbelievable rivalries. We are literally witnessing history as the returning kings. Global icons like Argentina's Lionel Messi, Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo, and Mexico's Guillermo Ochoa gear up for a record-breaking, historic 6th World Cup campaign. 6! That's insane! But they're staring down an explosive wave of new challengers, totally desperate to dethrone them. You have Spain's electrifying 18-year-old winger Lamine Yamal, Uzbekistan's rising star Abdulkadir Husanov, and France's midfield dynamo Warren Zaire-Emery. It's the old guard trying to protect their legacy, while the new generation wants to take the crown by force. Furthermore, expanding to 48 teams has unlocked the gates for completely new narratives. We have debutante empires entering the global fray for the very first time. Nations like Uzbekistan, Cabo Verde, Curacao, and Jordan have finally realized their ultimate footballing dreams. And they aren't just showing up to make up the numbers either. They're stepping directly into the spotlight, bringing totally new styles of play, new passionate fan bases, and a really unpredictable edge to the tournament. So how does this all kick off? Let's get into Act 3, the imminent battles. The squads are confirmed, the training camps are set, and the whole world is holding its breath. It all kicks off on June 11, 2026, with an electrifying opening clash, Mexico versus South Africa. And it's happening at the legendary Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. Now, this is a repeat of the 2010 tournament opener, and it's arguably a must-win game for both teams if they want to survive a highly competitive Group A. Just imagine the atmosphere for a second. 80,000 screaming fans, the thin air, the immense pressure of a host nation opening the biggest tournament in history. It's going to be incredibly cinematic. Let's move forward and see how this builds, because the tension ramps up immediately. The group stage is just packed with heavyweight encounters right out of the gate. On June 13th, the tactical flair of Brazil meets the relentless energy of Morocco up in New York/New Jersey. Just a day later, the Netherlands squares off against Japan down in Dallas. And on June 25th, the co-hosting United States faces a massive test against Turkey in front of a roaring crowd in Los Angeles. These are the punchy, high-stakes early battles that are absolutely going to set the tone for the entire tournament. Oh, and what's an epic saga without a killer soundtrack, right? Pumping through the stadiums and all those global broadcasts will be the official tournament anthem, DNA. It's performed by a truly global coalition: legendary tenor Andrea Bocelli, super producer David Guetta, and superstar Megan Thee Stallion. This anthem is custom designed to capture the intensity, the unity, and just the pure adrenaline of the entire world coming together for these 39 days. Because ultimately, all of this, the altitude sickness, that suffocating heat, the tactical masterclasses, and the inevitable heartbreak, it all converges on one single date and one location: July 19, 2026, the World Cup final in New York and New Jersey. This is exactly where the paths of 48 nations end, and where the next ruler of global football will be permanently crowned in the history books. So the crucial point is this: we've got 1,248 distinct dreams colliding across an entire continent. They're battling the elements, the odds, and each other, all for just one ultimate prize. The scale is completely unprecedented, the stakes have literally never been higher, and the entire world is watching. So who actually has the tactical brilliance, the sheer physical endurance, and the willpower to conquer North America? The epic is about to begin. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch, because history is about to be written.